is tied. Just as the power play was set to expire, Draisaitl hammers it into the back of the net for his 34th goal of the year.
Welcome to the Oilers TV live pregame show ahead of the 5 p.m. puck drop between the Edmonton Oilers and Toronto Maple Leafs. The Oilers continuing this 4-game homestand and looking to get back in the win column after dropping a 4-3 decision to the Maple Leafs just 2 nights ago. Now, we did hear from head coach Dave Tippett earlier this afternoon. We're going to have that for you in just a few short moments, and we're also going to be hearing from the players when their media availability begins live at 3:30 p.m. And to round out this morning, or I shouldn't say this morning, this afternoon's live pregame show, I had the opportunity to sit down with 3-time Stanley Cup champion and former Edmonton Oiler Mike Krushelnyski. We talk about the reverse retros that both teams are wearing tonight. Yes, the Oilers will be donning their white reverse retros. As for the Maple Leafs, they'll be wearing their blue reverse retros. And we also talked about the makeup of the North Division and what that would potentially look like back in 1985, 86, 87. It's a really fun conversation. It'll be a great way to round out the show. But for now, we're going to send it to our pre-recorded tape of the media availability for head coach Dave Tippett. Here he is.
Hey, Dave, we're 2 hours out. Can you confirm who's going tonight in between the pipes? And we've seen the move with Grosnick. Might he see some action in the next couple games if he isn't the guy tonight?
We'll just go by day. Koskinen plays tonight.
Okay, Tony Brar, Oilers TV.
Hey, Dave, yesterday you had a pretty good quote about confidence and how it may be sometimes used as an excuse, but what does building confidence look like 2 hours ahead of puck drop and then ultimately heading up to puck drop?
I said it yesterday, confidence is earned. You got to earn it. You earn it by winning games. Winning little battles that are in the game and ultimately winning the game. That's how you build confidence.
Bob Stauffer.
Dave, just circling back to what you said the other day, Toronto's got a great power play, but obviously you want to get specifically your bottom six more engaged physically and more difficult to play against. How tricky is that to do when you're playing a team that's 50% on the PP over the last 4 games?
Well, you got to be disciplined. You can play hard without taking penalties, and you're looking for people that can wear a line down by playing a shift in the offensive zone. It's physically being hard on people, but not taking penalties. You have to recognize who you're against. The power play is Toronto's power play has been very good this year. You got to make sure you're disciplined. Make sure you're disciplined, but it doesn't mean you can't play hard. You can compete in battles, get to the front of the net, compete in front of your net. I mean, there's places that it's not about being dirty, it's being hard to play against, and that's what we're looking for.
Jason Gregor, TSN 1260.
Dave, a few things. Any update on Evan Bouchard? Is he close to being able to play?
Yeah, he's practiced the last couple of days. We'll see where it goes the next few days.
And when you're making the choices on your lineup, and you talk about your special teams, how much does a guy's success on the penalty kill factor in? And how much do you look at guys' numbers of, is it fair to say if a player's not on the ice for penalty kill that he's doing a good job, or do you have to dig deeper?
Say that again. If he's not on the ice is he doing a good job?
Yeah, like when he's on Jujhar Khaira's PK numbers last year and this year, he's only been on for 3 power play goals against, and he's been one of your better penalty killers. I know his 5-on-5 play isn't where you'd like it, but how do you weigh that if a guy's kind of a good specialist, I guess?
Well, you weigh it on the rest of your lineup. You got to put a lineup you think you can win with.
Jack Michael, 630 Chad.
Dave, this is the first year in Darnell's career he's been unquestionably the guy in terms of first up for minutes and just being that kind of leader. How would you evaluate what he's done in the first 9 games?
He's been solid. You know, we're asking him to take a much bigger load without Clef there, and he's come in. His, the extra minutes he's playing has been solid minutes. He's moving the puck fairly well. We've, he's starting to get some power play time just because we're looking for a left shot there at times. But he's been solid for us. I mean, he's the one guy that we can rely on back there that's given us what we need, and so we need to get some more people up in that mode.
And the follow-up would be, have you gotten any insight as to what he's done in terms of indoctrinating some of your newer defensemen? We always talk about leadership with, McDavid and to a lesser extent Nugent Hopkins. What about Darnell on the back end?
Darnell's done a great job in there. We've got him in our leadership core, and he's, like you say, he's probably underappreciated on that end, but his voice speaks volumes in there. He's been a solid leader for us, and as he continues to mature and take a bigger role, that voice gets stronger and stronger. So he's done a very good job in the leadership part of it.
Jim Matheson, Post Media.
Dave, what in terms of Tyler Ennis, he does play a little bit on the power play, but doesn't kill penalties. Is it difficult for him if he's going to be on a fourth line, getting the ice time where the other guys kill penalties?
We're going to use him a little bit on the power play tonight, so we'll see how that goes. But he's a guy that he can play with energy. He gives it. He's like a water bug in there. He can get in there and make plays and put pressure on the puck, be around the puck to support people. So we'll see how that goes tonight.
And is Dylan Wells back in Bakersfield now? He was on the taxi squad. Was he ever on the ice, or what? I never did see him.
He was on the ice a few times, yeah, and I think we have to make a decision on him tomorrow.
Last question, Jason Gregor.
Dave, Tyson Barrie seemingly looks more comfortable the last few games. Have you noticed it? Like some guys, it just takes some time to get acclimatized in a new team. Have you seen more of what you want to see from Barrie recently?
Continues to grow. I thought last game he was solid, and looks like he's getting a little bit more of a jump in his step, which is what we're looking for. But you're exactly right. He's coming in. He's trying to get a feel for everything, and as he gets more comfortable, I think you'll see his play continue to elevate.
Is it his puck skills that have improved, or just his overall reads on what he's doing on the ice?
I think he's reading less and just he's not thinking, he's doing, and that's he's a player that has to. There's some intuition that has to go into it, and he has to play. He has to be a little freer, and he's a guy that's trying to do what's right. He's trying to learn a new structure of how we want to play, but in the meantime, he's got to get his game up and going. So hopefully last game was a step in the right direction, and he'll continue to get better.
Thank you. This concludes Dave.
Thanks for joining us on this continued coverage of the Oilers live pregame show here on Oilers TV. Once again, I'm Tony Brar. We heard from Dave Tippett that right off the top that Mikko Koskinen will make his 10th consecutive start to begin the season. No surprises there, but there's a lot of question marks in regards to what the head coach and the coaching staff will do tomorrow when they enter, Ontario's other team enters Rogers Place as the Oilers continue this homestand, the Ottawa Senators. That puck drop will be at 7 p.m. And again, reminder, today's puck drop, 5 p.m. Mountain. Now, I just want to go through some Oilers transactions that transpired earlier this afternoon. Troy Grosenick, who was claimed on waivers from the LA Kings, was added to the roster. Tyler Ennis was recalled from the taxi squad. Now, he did skate on a line with Devin Shore and Josh Archibald on Friday afternoon's practice, so it's likely that Ennis will draw back into the lineup tonight. Joakim Nygard was loaned to the taxi squad. Stuart Skinner was loaned to the taxi squad, which means Koskinen and Grosenick are the two netminders on the active squad, and Alan Quine was assigned to Bakersfield of the AHL. Now, we're going to be having the live press conferences from the Oilers Hall of Fame room in just a few moments with some of the players. That was slated to begin in just about a couple minutes' time, so it shouldn't be too much longer to hear from the players. So we're going to continue this Oilers TV live pregame show. Stay tuned. We'll have the players in just a few moments.
Turris. If you have any questions, please use the raise hand function. Hands Media. Ryan Rashog, TSN.
Hey, Kyle, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. If there were an element in your game that you guys could duplicate from the other night, tonight, what part of it would it be, do you think?
I mean, there's lots to improve on from the other night. So, I mean, we scored a couple power play goals that, yeah, I mean, we want to stay hot on the power play.
When it comes to the penalty kill, when you've got guys that can shoot the way Matthews can and such, just how aware do you have to be? Like Dave Tippett's been talking a lot about being in those proper lanes, but they can kind of change those lanes on you with mobility. So how much of a challenge is that?
Yeah, it is, and it's something we talked about, and we have to improve on, and we will. We're taking the steps to do so, and I mean, real good shooters, so we have to try and limit what they have, and yeah, that's something we'll be working on.
Jim Matheson, Post Media.
Kyle, the standard with the referees this year with the slashing penalties, they do seem like they're kind of ticky-tack where you're barely hitting a guy on his gloves. Is the standard changed, or does it seem like, okay, they got a mandate from head office and they got to start calling more of those slashing penalties?
I mean, I don't know if it's changed so much or just kind of, yeah, just being more cognizant of what the rule was coming out of the lockout. And, you know, I think it was 5-6 or 4-5 to begin with, and then 12-13. I mean, it's always at the start of the year, trying to find that balance. And, yeah, just got to be smarter with our sticks and make sure we're not kind of pushing the boundary.
Thank you.
Rob Tuchkowski, Post Media.
Hey, Kyle. I'm not sure what they're doing with the lines tonight, but what have you thought about your time with Cassian and Neil? It seems like you guys were around, a lot of good looks. Do you see something developing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, they're both real good players, and just finding that chemistry together, and they're big, strong players that, yeah, we can cycle and create, and I think we're taking steps in the right direction to do that over the last game and the game before that, and just looking to continue to build on that.
How's your own adjustment going since arriving at Edmonton? You know, coming to a new team is always tough. Are you kind of where you need to be? How long till you're sort of the Kyle Turris you want to be? Yeah,
I mean, it's work in progress. Just trying to find that rhythm and consistency and just kind of the player I want to be. And yeah, I mean, it's 9 games in now, and I got to get going and find that rhythm. And I mean, there's times where it's there and times where it's not, and I just got to find that consistency and yeah, and contribute to help the team more.
Thank you, Kyle. This concludes the pregame media availability.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
And there was Oilers forward Kyle Turris. He talked about rhythm and consistency at the end. I know he was talking about his individual game, but the Oilers looking to get into some sort of rhythm themselves. Again, they're looking to bounce back after a 4-3 defeat to the hands of the Maple Leafs on Thursday. They'll have another crack at the same lineup tonight. Again, Tyler Ennis is expected to play and draw in alongside Devon Shore and Josh Archibald. That appears to be the only lineup change from Thursday as head coach Dave Tippett and the Oilers look for their 4th victory of the season. And to round out the Oilers TV live pregame show, we're actually going to head into a special interview with former Edmonton Oiler and 3-time Stanley Cup champion Mike Krushelnyski as he talks about the retro jerseys right off the top. Oilers TV is pleased to be joined by a man with nearly 900 games on his NHL resume, including 200 games in an Edmonton Oilers uniform, 569 NHL points, a 1985 NHL All-Star, and of course, 3 Stanley Cups with the Edmonton Oilers. Mike, thanks so much for doing this.
I like that. I have a new agent. You're hired.
I appreciate it. I should have put my resume in before this interview, but I'll be sure to touch it up right after. Mike, you played with the Oilers and the Leafs in your career, and before we get into some of the takeaways from their matchup this season and the North Division as a whole, the Oilers and the Leafs will be sporting new sweaters on Saturday night. 1, have you seen them? 2, if so, what are your thoughts on the new reverse retros?
Yes, I was lucky enough to get a preview of it, so I've seen both jerseys, and the Oiler jersey, it almost looks like an old replica of an old picture of mine.
There it is, yeah.
So hopefully it'll bring back good times, good memories, and maybe a little of the luck from back then will trickle down. So hopefully, let's hope for good things.
I like it. I like the positive energy. Now let's talk about the 2 teams that you suited up for in your playing career, the Oilers and the Leafs. They've already engaged in some great games to begin this season. How exciting is it to watch guys like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins go against the likes of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares?
Well, I got to admit, the hockey now, I think it's great. The players are so fast, so skilled. Some of the stuff they do, I just look at it and I'm just amazed. As I'm assuming, a lot of my friends, my old timer friends, are doing the same. But the funny thing is, it's certain periods teams come out like gangbusters, and then the next period that I'm still trying to figure out. But but it's very exciting hockey. Living in Toronto, we're literally right around the corner. So as I'm watching, I'll know about 4 seconds ahead because I can hear the horn blaring before it hits the TV. So we're lucky in that sense. The players now are so highly skilled. They're going so fast. And then if you are lucky enough to get to 3-on-3 hockey, it's even better. So game is going in the right direction.
It's incredible to see what they can do in open ice. But question, how would Mike Krushelnyski do in today's NHL?
Well, I still play, but I'd be going a lot slower. But it's funny. Like we as alumni, we have a group of guys here. We play all over the place for Special Olympics or Conquer Cancer or Alzheimer's, so Easter Seals, and it's a lot of fun. And just to see those guys, they put on the different uniforms, the different jerseys, they're different heroes, and get to see them going. And some guys are like, man, I got to be just like Connor. And I'm like, yeah, only about 40 miles slower. So it's a lot of fun. I'm very lucky.
Well, it's incredible to believe that the Oilers are squaring off with the Leafs and every other Canadian team 9 times this season, with the exception, of course, Calgary and Vancouver with 10 meetings. What are your thoughts on the new North Division?
Well, obviously they have to do that because of the COVID, but I think it's a little bit more exciting. I think back in the early 90s when I had left the game, a lot of my friends would say, oh, we'll never be able to see Montreal, Toronto, go in the finals anymore. And I think that's created somewhat of a rivalry where a lot of the teams now, you'll get to see a lot more of them. So as it gets, from the coaching point, as you get into game 5, 6, and 7, you've figured out weaknesses and strengths already, and you'll be exploiting those. But it's just tremendous hockey. Maybe a couple of rivalries will come out of it. I'm sure the Calgary Edmonton is still there. I mean, I'm often asked, and I still think that was the best rivalry when I played. Although growing up in Montreal, I would think that Montreal, Quebec City, Quebec Nordiques would have had that same rivalry as well. So,
of course,
it's just, I think, like I said, the hockey is just great.
Yeah, you kind of touched up on it, but going back to your playing days, you guys had a lot of good battles in Edmonton, particularly against the Jets, and of course the Battle of Alberta with the Flames. What would a North Division look like back in 85, 86, 87?
Ooh. Well, it's funny you say that because I just had this conversation with Ricky Vai where, I was lucky enough to go from Terry O'Reilly as a captain to Wayne Gretzky to Dougie Gilmour and Stevie Yzerman. And I had great captains. And he's like, and I was lucky enough to be on great teams. And, obviously playing in Edmonton at the time, we had it all. You had, finesse with Gretz and Yari, and you had your power and speed with Mess and Andy. And then you had Koff on the background. And if that screwed up, we had the slugs in the third and fourth liners. And we had the muscle. And then we had Grant Fuhr and Andy Mogan net. So, very fortunate. Glenn knew people, knew how to push buttons, how to get guys going. Muck was the architect. I said the story just a couple of days ago where we were waiting for I think the second round we had won and we're waiting. We have 7 to 10 days. We're waiting. And, we had practiced. I kept clogging up the left side. Well, after the first period, we're losing 2-0 and Muck walks in. He's like, forget what I said. Forget what we practiced. Right side. And we're like, really? And we end up losing that game 4-2, but we end up going on to win the next 4 games straight because John was, smart enough to pick up on that. So, we were lucky. I was part of a team that had everything: size, strength, speed, skill, muscle, great goaltending.
So what you're saying is it would have been a fun time playing against the rivals 8, 9, 10 times in the year.
I can't even imagine what they must be going through. Great players: Dale Howard, Chuck in Winnipeg, Vancouver. They just got caught in a wrong era. But.
Well, you talked about playing on a great team. Let's maybe quickly talk about the great one. You were involved in a trade alongside Wayne Gretzky in the August 9th, 1988 trade that also included Marty McSorley. You were a teammate with the great one for a number of years. Of course, this past week, we celebrated his 60th birthday. Do you have a story or a memory that sticks out when you were a teammate with number 99?
Well, obviously, at Edmonton, we have a lot of great things, but I got to throw this funny. I'm sure a lot of people have heard him, but I've got a good one in LA where Gretz was so busy, and every time for practice, he was always late. And finally, I was like, man, I've had enough. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why are we always waiting for you? And he's like, Crush, sorry. And then coming out of the shower, he's like, hey, get to the rink tomorrow, 7:30. I was like, 7:30, we got to practice at 10:30. Well, I get to the rink and all of a sudden, hey, Crush, line up. And I'm skating in the background of a commercial, American Express commercial. I got some money out of it. So I was like, okay, Gretz, you're okay. You can be late anytime.
Oh, man. Yeah. I love how you called about it. It's still.
But, he was Gretz was the greatest. He still is the greatest ambassador. He's always got the right things coming out. He always says the right things. He's just such a great guy. And he really is. He was the greatest player, but he's probably the best way to describe Gretz is as important as Gretz is, he always made you feel more important.
Yeah, for sure.
That was his, that's probably, the biggest thing I can say about Gretz.
Definitely a sentiment that I can share as well. And he also has a story for everything. You could be talking about a red fire hydrant and all of a sudden he'll go off on a story about a red fire hydrant back in 87. It's just amazing how his mind works. But let's maybe hear a little bit of your story, Mike. What are you doing these days to keep busy? I'm assuming a lot of hockey on the television.
Fortunately, hockey is back. So yes, you were right about that. Prior to that, there was a lot of reading and a lot of the internet. But fortunately, I've been busy enough. My son has started an agency representing hockey players, NXT Sports Group. So obviously I'm an advisor, but I've always wanted to be a CEO. So we changed the headline. I'm finally a CEO.
There you go. Congratulations.
But no, it's been a lot of fun. We've got up, you do all the things that you normally don't do. You catch up on the paperwork, the wills, the investments, refinancing the mortgage, all of that good stuff. So it's been a crazy time, but it's actually gone by pretty quick, surprisingly. So hopefully we'll be out of this mess in a couple more months.
Well, it's been a crazy time, as you mentioned, but a busy time, it sounds like, for you. And I'm always a person that says busy is good. It's a lot better than the alternative. Mike, the new CEO, thanks so much for your stories and your time tonight. We appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Just an all-around beauty. That's the only way you can describe Mike Krushelnyski. We appreciate him joining Oilers TV yesterday for that interview. That interview is now live on EdmontonOilers.com. Of course, you can keep up with all of our content on the team's home webpage. So it's the Oilers and the Leafs in just over 1 hour's time. On behalf of my producer, Brock Boot, I'm Tony Barr signing off for the live pregame show. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy today's action.